The entire love and hip-hop universe just stopped because what went down between Shakira Hardy and Emani is beyond messy. It's unforgivable. Lil Scrappy was blindsided when he got the call no parent ever wants to hear, that Shakira, the woman he's been defending and building with, was accused of brutally attacking his daughter, Emani. The moment the news reached him, Scrappy froze. His face dropped, his voice cracked, and that calm energy disappeared instantly. This wasn't TV drama. This wasn't shade. This was blood-level betrayal. Dixon went into full mama bear mode, shaking with anger, demanding answers, and ready to protect her child at all costs. Social media exploded within minutes, fans dragging Shakira, fans calling out Scrappy for missing the signs, and others saying this whole situation is about to blow the entire co-parenting dynamic apart. And trust me, this story is about to get much worse. The moment the accusations surfaced, everything shifted for Scrappy in a way he never saw coming. He had been trying to rebuild his life, find his peace, and create a future that felt stable after years of chaos, but nothing could have prepared him for this bombshell. Hearing that Shakira Hardy, the woman he had defended, uplifted, and trusted, was allegedly involved in a brutal altercation with his daughter Emani sent a shock through him that hit deeper than anything he'd experienced in a long time. It wasn't just anger, it wasn't just confusion. It was heartbreak mixed with disbelief, a cocktail of emotions that left him feeling betrayed and blindsided. Because when it comes to Emani, everything changes. She isn't just his daughter. She's the one person who has seen him at his highest and lowest, the one who stood beside him through every messy chapter, every argument, every public scandal. And now, someone he thought he could bring into his world might have crossed a line that could never be uncrossed. Scrappy's reaction was immediate and raw. For a few long seconds, he couldn't speak. He just stared into space like his brain was trying to rewind time and make the news untrue. People around him said he looked broken, like the air had been knocked out of his lungs. All he could think about was Emani's face, her voice, her safety. This wasn't about reality TV storylines anymore. This wasn't about co-parenting drama or social media beef. This was real. This was personal. This was a threat to the person he loves more than anything in the world. And the moment that reality hit him, a fire lit in his chest that he couldn't put out. Dixon, meanwhile, was already in full protective mode before Scrappy even had time to catch his breath. The second she heard about the situation, every ounce of motherly instinct kicked in. Erica has always been the calm one, the collected one, the one who tries to rise above the drama. But when it comes to her daughter, she transforms into a completely different person. Her voice was shaking as she tried to process what happened, but her anger was sharp and focused. She couldn't understand how Shakira, someone who had been around her child, someone Scrappy trusted, had allowed things to escalate to this level. Erica didn't want excuses. She didn't want explanations. She wanted accountability. She wanted consequences. And she wanted Scrappy to understand that this situation wasn't something that could be brushed off or talked through. This crossed a line that could damage trust forever. The tension between Scrappy and Erica rose instantly, not because they were angry at each other, but because the pain was too heavy for both of them to carry at once. Scrappy felt torn between two realities: the man who wanted to believe Shakira couldn't do something like this, and the father who knew he had to take his daughter's side without hesitation. Erica could see the conflict in him, and it only made her more emotional. She needed him to step up immediately and stand with her, not straddle the fence. She needed him to be the father she believed he could be, the father Emani deserved in a moment like this. As everything unfolded, Emani's voice was the one thing that cut through all the noise. Hearing her recount what happened broke Scrappy in a way he couldn't hide. She wasn't yelling. She wasn't hysterical. She was hurt, and that soft, wounded tone hit him harder than any headline or accusation ever could. It made everything real. It made everything impossible to ignore. He realized that no matter how complicated things were between him and Erica, no matter how much he wanted to keep peace in his new relationship, none of it mattered compared to Emani's safety and emotional well-being. In that moment, Scrappy knew he had to choose the role that mattered most. Not boyfriend, not reality star, not mediator, but father. Meanwhile, Shakira's name started trending online within minutes as the story got out. Fans of Love and Hip Hop were furious, confused, and ready to dissect every detail. Some defended Emani immediately, calling the alleged attack disgusting and unacceptable. Others questioned Shakira's behavior, saying this wasn't the first time her attitude felt off. A few people pointed out that Scrappy had been so focused on proving everyone wrong about Shakira that he ignored red flags because he wanted so badly to start fresh. Now those same supporters were turning on him, asking why he didn't protect his daughter sooner and why he allowed Shakira into their personal space at all. Scrappy saw every comment. He heard every whisper, but none of it compared to the storm happening inside him. He replayed every moment he introduced Shakira into their blended family. He thought about the warnings people gave him. He thought about Erica looking him in the eyes and telling him she didn't trust Shakira around their child. He thought about every time he brushed off those concerns because he wanted to believe things could finally be peaceful. Now, all of that optimism felt like a mistake, one that cost his daughter her safety. As the hours turned into a long, emotional day, the distance between Scrappy and Shakira grew wider than ever. Calls went unanswered. Texts stayed on read. Shakira's silence felt like guilt or fear or both. Scrappy didn't know what to think anymore, but he knew what he had to do. Show up for Emani, stand beside Erica, and confront the situation head-on. Whether he wanted to or not, whether it hurt or not, this was no longer about adult relationships. This was about a young girl caught in the crossfire of grown-up mistakes. This was only the beginning, because once Scrappy stepped forward to hear Emani's full story and face Shakira's actions, everything they knew about their relationships, their boundaries, and their future would change forever. As the situation continued to spiral, Scrappy found himself caught between emotions he didn't even have words for. He spent the entire night replaying everything in his mind, pacing back and forth, trying to process how the woman he trusted with his heart had somehow become the center of a storm involving his daughter. It didn't matter how many times he tried to make sense of it. Nothing added up. Every time he closed his eyes, he could hear Emani's voice trembling as she recounted what happened. Every time he looked in the mirror, he saw a father questioning whether he failed his child. The guilt sat heavy on his chest, heavier than he'd felt in years, and no amount of breathing or pacing could release it. Scrappy wasn't a perfect man, but he always tried to do right by his kids. And now the thought that he might have unknowingly placed Emani in harm's way was tearing him apart from the inside. Erica Dixon wasn't doing any better. While Scrappy tried to process his guilt quietly, Erica's pain played out more visibly. She had spent years trying to build a stable environment for Emani, shielding her from adult problems, toxic relationships, and outside negativity. So when she heard that Shakira allegedly put her hands on her daughter, something inside her snapped. Her cries were filled with rage and fear, the kind that only comes from a mother who feels like she failed to protect her child. She blamed herself for allowing Emani to be around people she didn't trust. She blamed Scrappy for not seeing this earlier. She blamed Shakira for crossing a boundary no one should ever cross. And as the weight of it all crashed down on her, Erica realized her anger wasn't just about the incident. It was about everything she had survived. The cheating, the public humiliation, the broken trust, the co-parenting battles, the years of trying to be the mature one while others played games. This moment cracked open wounds she thought had healed. Yet underneath all the tears and fury, Erica was laser-focused on one thing: protecting Emani moving forward. She wanted the truth out in the open. She wanted accountability, and she wanted Scrappy to finally step up without excuses or hesitation. When Scrappy arrived at Erica's home to talk, their conversation wasn't smooth or calm. The air was thick with tension as soon as the door opened. Erica didn't try to hide her anger. She didn't soften her tone. She told him exactly how she felt: betrayed, disappointed, and scared for their daughter's emotional well-being. Scrappy listened, his eyes heavy, his voice barely above a whisper, as he tried to explain that he never intended to hurt Emani, that he had no idea something like this would ever occur. But Erica wasn't hearing explanations. She was hearing a father trying to defend a decision that had gone terribly wrong. She reminded him about all the times she had voiced concerns about Shakira's attitude and behavior. She reminded him that being a parent isn't just about loving your kids. It's about protecting them even when it means ending relationships or making uncomfortable changes. She told him everything she had held inside for months, things she didn't want to say because she had hoped Scrappy would realize them on his own. And when she finally finished, her hands were shaking, but her voice didn't crack, because she meant every word. Scrappy didn't yell back. He didn't defend himself. He just sat silently, absorbing every raw truth she threw at him. Part of him wanted to argue that Shakira wasn't a monster, that maybe the situation wasn't what it seemed. But the father in him, the man who would burn the world down to protect Emani, knew there was no defending anything until he knew exactly what happened. So he nodded. He apologized. And for the first time in years, Erica saw genuine vulnerability in him. It didn't erase what happened, but it softened the edges of her anger. Just a little. The next step was hearing from Emani directly. When she sat down with both of her parents, her eyes were red, her voice quiet, but she was steady, painfully steady. She explained everything detail by detail, not dramatically, not angrily, but with a sadness that hurt Scrappy more than any punch could have. She talked about the tone Shakira used, the aggressive words, the moment things escalated, and how scared she felt when she realized this wasn't just a heated conversation. Scrappy's heart fractured into a dozen pieces, listening to his daughter describe moments he wasn't there to stop. Each sentence made his stomach twist. Each tear she wiped away made him want to scream into a wall. By the time she finished, the silence in the room was suffocating. Erica was already crying again, her hand covering her mouth. Scrappy wasn't crying, but his eyes glistened with a shine he couldn't hold back. He rubbed his face with both hands, overwhelmed with regret and anger and helplessness. He wanted to hold Emani. He wanted to storm out and confront Shakira. He wanted to go back in time and undo everything. But he couldn't. All he could do was promise Emani and Erica that he would fix this, whatever it took. Meanwhile, the internet had already erupted. Fans of love and hip-hop were choosing sides with fiery passion. Hashtags calling for Shakira to be held accountable began trending. Some fans said they never trusted her. Others insisted there had to be more to the story. But the loudest voices were the ones saying, "You don't touch a child, ever." The pressure intensified so quickly that Scrappy had no choice but to address the situation publicly. His statement was short, emotional, and filled with regret. He acknowledged Emani first, protecting her privacy, and then promised to reevaluate every relationship in his life to ensure his children's safety. It wasn't a perfect statement, but it was honest, something people don't always expect from reality stars. But while Scrappy was trying to handle things responsibly, Shakira was silent, completely silent. No post, no explanation, no live video, nothing. And that silence made her look guiltier by the minute. People began digging into her past posts, her old comments on Scrappy and Erica's drama, her messy online interactions. Suddenly, fans started connecting dots they never noticed before: jealousy, insecurity, tension. And as those old clips resurfaced, the narrative shifted hard against her. For Scrappy, this was the breaking point. He realized that no matter what excuses Shakira tried to offer, no matter how complicated her emotions were, nothing justified what happened to Emani. He couldn't be with someone who put his child in harm's way, and he couldn't stay silent while the world demanded answers. This was the beginning of the end for Scrappy and Shakira, because once a situation reaches your children, there's no going back, no forgiveness, no second chances. And Scrappy knew the moment he looked into Emani's eyes that his entire world had changed forever. As the hours turned into days, the energy around Scrappy began to shift in a way he could physically feel. Every time his phone buzzed, his chest tightened. Every message, every notification, every comment was another reminder that the situation had spiraled far beyond his control. People weren't just talking about it, they were demanding action, demanding accountability, demanding answers that he didn't fully have yet. But while the world argued, speculated, and pointed fingers, Scrappy was living inside the quiet chaos of his own home, trying to figure out how to repair a wound that never should have happened in the first place. He barely slept. He barely ate. Every time he closed his eyes, he would see Emani's face, hurting, disappointed, asking why someone her father trusted would lash out like that. And the worst part was that he didn't have a single good answer to give her. Scrappy had always carried a lot of emotional weight: failed relationships, public humiliation, financial setbacks, and constant pressure to be the man everyone expected him to be. But this was a pain that hit different. This wasn't about a woman leaving him, cheating on him, disrespecting him, or embarrassing him. This was about his child, the girl who looked up to him, who defended him, who wanted him to be a stable rock in her life. And now she was hurt because he brought the wrong person into their world. That guilt was a burden so heavy it made every breath feel like a punishment. Meanwhile, the tension with Erica only continued to grow. Even when they tried to stay calm for the sake of their daughter, there was an unspoken anger between them that kept boiling to the surface. Erica had warned him. She had told him that she didn't trust Shakira around Emani. She had tried to distance their daughter from Scrappy's new relationship because she sensed something wasn't right. But Scrappy, wanting so badly to prove that his love life could be stable again, ignored the signs. He brushed off Erica's concerns as jealousy, drama, or bitterness left over from their past. And now those decisions were haunting him. Erica couldn't stop replaying her own regrets too. She wondered if she should have pushed harder, if she should have kept Emani away more aggressively, if she should have fought the battle differently. So when the two sat down to talk again, the emotions were already bubbling beneath the surface. Erica didn't yell this time. Her voice was quiet, steady, but laced with disappointment. That hurt Scrappy more than any screaming match ever could. He sat there listening as she explained how vulnerable this made their daughter feel, how unsafe, how emotionally shaken. Erica made it clear that this wasn't something she was going to just move past because the cameras weren't rolling. This was personal. This was motherhood. This was survival. Scrappy tried to respond, but his voice cracked before he even formed the words. He told her he was sorry, deeply sorry, in a way he hadn't expressed in years. He told her he should have listened. He told her he felt like he failed both of them. And though Erica appreciated his honesty, the hurt was too fresh to offer forgiveness. Still, she didn't want to punish him. She just wanted proof, real proof, that he was willing to put Emani first in every possible way, even if that meant cutting ties with someone he thought he loved. But Scrappy wasn't the only one dealing with emotional fallout. Shakira had gone silent publicly, but privately, her world was falling apart. She felt the entire internet turning against her, calling her names, labeling her a monster, dragging every piece of her past into the spotlight. She felt Scrappy pulling away. She felt the coldness in his tone, the distance in his words, the hesitation in every conversation. Shakira wasn't used to being the villain. She wasn't used to being the one under attack. And instead of stepping forward to explain herself, she shut down completely. She cried, she panicked, she replayed the situation from her perspective, and she felt her relationship slipping through her fingers. But the painful truth was that no amount of fear or panic could erase what Emani said happened. Whether Shakira meant to lash out or whether she lost her temper for a brief second, the damage was done. And Scrappy couldn't ignore it anymore. When Scrappy finally confronted Shakira face to face, the conversation was tense from the moment she walked into the room. She tried to hug him. He stepped back. She tried to speak. He cut her off. For the first time since they started dating, he didn't greet her with softness. He didn't speak gently. He didn't try to comfort her. Instead, his voice was cold, heavy with disappointment. He told her exactly what Emani said. He told her how much pain this caused. He told her that he couldn't defend her when his daughter was hurting. Shakira tried to deny parts of the story. She tried to justify her actions, saying it was just a heated moment, that she never intended to hurt Emani, that things got taken out of context. But Scrappy wasn't interested in excuses. He told her straight up that he believed his daughter. That was the line that shattered Shakira completely. Tears streamed down her face as she begged him to hear her side, to understand, to see that she didn't mean the situation to go that far. But Scrappy made it clear. Intent didn't matter. Impact did, and the impact was unforgivable. When he walked away from Shakira that day, something inside him felt both broken and relieved. Broken because he never wanted to be in this position. Relieved because he knew he was doing the right thing for his child. For once, his priorities were exactly where they needed to be. But the world wasn't done watching. The blogs were exploding. Fans were dissecting every angle. Cast members reached out behind the scenes. Some supported Scrappy, others criticized him, and a few quietly suggested that this incident revealed deeper problems in his relationship with Shakira. As more details leaked online, the conversation shifted. People began saying this wasn't just an isolated moment. This was a reflection of deeper emotional instability, of unresolved jealousy, of hidden resentment. Old clips of Shakira shading Erica resurfaced. Old comments about Emani popped up. And suddenly, the documentary of Scrappy choosing Shakira over everyone else began to look like a mistake he should have seen coming. Now, Scrappy's focus shifted toward repairing his bond with Emani. He took her out for quiet dinners. He checked on her every morning. He apologized again and again, not because she needed to hear it repeatedly, but because he needed to say it. He needed her to know that he valued her more than any relationship, more than any adult drama, more than any mistake he ever made. Emani appreciated it, but she wasn't quick to forget. She had been hurt emotionally, and trust is hard to rebuild once broken. But she saw her father trying, and trying meant everything. This incident didn't just change Scrappy's love life, it changed his whole identity as a father. And the more he leaned into that role, the more he realized that this wasn't just a moment, it was a warning, a wake-up call, a turning point that would reshape every decision he made from this point on. As the dust started to settle, Scrappy realized he wasn't just dealing with the aftermath of a broken relationship. He was dealing with a full-on emotional earthquake that forced him to rethink everything he believed about himself, about love, about trust, and about the type of man and father he wanted to be. The situation with Shakira didn't just expose her flaws or her temper. It exposed the cracks in Scrappy's entire pattern of relationships. For years, he had bounced between chaos and comfort, always trying to find peace in places that were already burning. But now, after watching the pain in Emani's eyes and feeling Erica's disappointment shake him to the core, he understood something he had ignored for far too long. You cannot build a peaceful life with people who carry storms inside them. Scrappy tried to keep a low profile as the drama continued to swirl online, but everywhere he turned, there were reminders of what happened. Fan accounts were dissecting every frame of Emani's emotional confession. Bloggers were pulling up timelines, screenshots, and old clips to prove that Shakira had been problematic from the start. Even castmates were whispering behind the scenes, with some saying Shakira always had a jealous streak, while others claimed they saw this coming a long time ago. And as more people weighed in, the world began to view the situation not just as an accident, but as the inevitable result of ignoring red flags. Scrappy wasn't angry at the fans or the cast for talking. He was angry at himself for giving them something to talk about. He kept replaying every moment he defended Shakira, every argument he had with Erica, every time he brushed off Emani's discomfort. Those memories haunted him in quiet moments, driving home late at night, staring at his phone with unanswered messages, sitting alone on the edge of his bed, wondering how he let things get this far. Scrappy wasn't a perfect man, but he had always prided himself on protecting his children. And now that protection had been compromised, not by a stranger, but by someone he willingly brought into their lives. Meanwhile, Shakira was spiraling in her own storm of consequences. The silence that once seemed mysterious now felt damning. Her friends started distancing themselves. Her comment sections turned hostile overnight. People she once defended were publicly dragging her now, claiming they always knew something was off. The internet is fast to build people up, but even faster to tear them down, and Shakira was learning that lesson in real time. She wanted to post a message defending herself, but every draft sounded like an excuse. She wanted to apologize, but every apology sounded like an admission of guilt. So she stayed quiet, hoping the storm would calm. But it didn't. Every day she waited, the narrative grew darker. What hurt Scrappy the most was not anger, not betrayal. It was disappointment. He didn't want to hate Shakira. He didn't want to see her dragged across the internet. He didn't want to watch her unravel. But he also couldn't look at her the same way. Something had permanently fractured between them. Even if her version of events was different, even if she claimed it was a misunderstanding, the risk was already too high. He couldn't put his daughter back in a situation where she felt unsafe or uncomfortable, and that realization made the breakup, or whatever was left of their connection, feel painfully final. Erica, on the other hand, stepped into her protective role with renewed strength. She made sure Emani had professional support, emotional support, family support, everything she needed to heal. Erica wasn't interested in drama, revenge, or shaking the internet. She was interested in her daughter's well-being. She held Emani through the tears, talked her through the confusion, and reassured her that nothing that happened was her fault. Erica was a mother first, and that instinct guided every step she took. Surprisingly, Erica didn't lash out publicly at Scrappy. She could have. She had every reason to. But instead, she chose a softer approach, not for him, but for Emani. She didn't want her daughter to see her parents tearing each other apart. She wanted Emani to see unity, even in conflict. That maturity didn't erase the tension between them, but it softened the impact. It showed Scrappy something powerful, that healing requires emotional discipline, something he hadn't always practiced. As days passed, Scrappy and Erica found themselves communicating more than they had in months. Not romantically, not emotionally, but clearly, respectfully, with purpose. Sometimes trauma breaks people. Sometimes it bonds them in unexpected ways. And this was one of those moments where old wounds were suddenly overshadowed by a shared mission: their daughter. The co-parenting dynamic, once strained with passive-aggressive comments and buried emotions, now shifted into something more cooperative. Scrappy took accountability in ways Erica never expected. He showed up, he listened, he made changes. He prioritized Emani over everything else, even when the internet, the cast, and his own emotions were pulling him in different directions. The moment that truly changed everything came a week later, when Scrappy sat down with Emani alone. No cameras, no producers, no outside voices, just father and daughter. He apologized again, but this time he didn't just say he was sorry. He explained why he was sorry. He took responsibility for not listening sooner, for ignoring signs, for letting his desire for love cloud his judgment. And Emani, with a maturity far beyond her years, told him she forgave him, not because it was easy and not because the pain vanished overnight, but because she knew her father was trying to be better. That conversation broke Scrappy down in the best possible way. It was the reset he desperately needed. After that, Scrappy knew what he had to do. Shakira could no longer be part of his life, not even as a friend, not even as a memory he clung to. He needed a clean break. He needed to rebuild himself as a father, as a man, and as someone who could finally recognize that love is not supposed to hurt your children. He released a final message online, short, emotional, and focused solely on Emani's healing. It wasn't about protecting his image. It wasn't about shifting blame. It was about accountability, closure, and moving forward. In the end, this situation didn't just expose Shakira. It exposed the truth Scrappy had been avoiding for years, that healing begins when you stop choosing chaos disguised as love. And for the first time in a long time, he was ready to walk away from the storm and build a life rooted in peace, protection, and genuine growth. And if you're still here after all this chaos, heartbreak, and raw emotion, then you already know this story is far from over. What happened between Scrappy, Shakira, Erica, and Emani isn't just another love and hip-hop moment. It's a reminder of how fast life can flip, how deep wounds can go, and how hard it is to choose healing over hurt. These families are rebuilding piece by piece, and you better believe more twists are on the way. So don't go anywhere, because the next chapter is going to shake the entire internet again. Make sure you hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on those notifications so you never miss a single update. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Whose side are you on, and what do you think happens next? Trust me, you won't want to miss what's coming.